All right, gentlemen. Oh my goodness. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to sit down with you guys. Now, we've sat and chatted previously. This time we're going to get it all recorded and handled and
Yes,
put out. But
yes.
it really has been a pleasure to get to know the two of you a little bit more. I'm really excited about our time together today. And for those of you who don't know these two gentlemen, I would like you to say hello to Ricky Venters and Marlon Madden. These two are the brain trust behind the Success Journey Show podcast.
Yes.
Family, if you have not taken a look, please take the time to do that. We're going to do this right out of the gate. Guys, how can they find your podcast?
They can find our podcast on any, we actually put a challenge out there that if you could go to a platform and not find our podcast, that we'll send you one of these shirts. These are our shirts: Dream, Drive, Discipline, and Diligence.
Yes.
And we'll send it to you and ensure that you get it. You can find us on any platform. The successjourneyshow.com is our website. And also on IG and Facebook, you can find us on Success Journey Show. On Twitter, you can find us on success_show.
Nice.
And we're also on YouTube. We're really pushing our YouTube now because, visual is more in. So we also push our YouTube, and it's the Success Journey Show.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm seeing your stuff pop up on Instagram that's in video format. It's just the way to be lately, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
All right. So listen, you guys know that growth season is about advocating for shame-free growth in the process, because we are all in process. It is not about whether we are growing. It's a fact that we're growing. The question is, what are we growing? And so, like I said, I'm really blessed to have had an opportunity to speak to you guys a little bit and get to know you more. But for the family, for the growth season community who doesn't know you, why don't you guys tell me a little bit about who you are individually, and then together kind of how this amazing podcast came together. Who wants to start?
Ricky, you go first.
Man, Season, just want to first say thank you again for having us on your show, man. It is always great talking to you, and just to be able to share on this platform. We've been watching you grow over the last few months, and the time just wrapping yourself around this and sharing your experience with the world. So we want to thank you first and foremost for just bringing us on here. Looking forward to having an exciting time with you, like we always do, whether on camera or off.
There will be laughter.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone out there, my name is Ricky Venters. I am Marlon and I. We partnered together with the Success Journey Show. We're actually this month marks our second year for the show.
Yes,
that's huge for us, man. Because
congratulations.
And I pretty much kind of go backwards from how you asked me to introduce ourselves. So we 2 years ago we said let's launch the show, but prior to that, Marlon and I, we known each other for 20-something years. Teenagers, things of that nature. Grew up in church, did a lot of things together. Split apart. He went his journey. He'll share with you his path. I went my way. Always stay connected, but not as close, tightly connected. But hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? How's everything been? Type of a thing. Until we both came back into the same area, and where this podcast was birthed from, and as we go a little bit more today, we'll tell you a little bit more details about that. But for me, I am a father of 3 boys, a husband, one wife, and I love when people do that when they're in the introduction, man.
That's part of our other conversation we had. We were all chuckling about that.
Yeah,
one
right?
wife.
Excited every day, waking up, just have an opportunity to nurture them as a father and a husband. My background is in engineering, and I also have done a lot of business development over the years as well. I work for a small organization, called Johns Hopkins University, and in a hospital. So it's fun. I have fun over there, just doing a lot of development stuff. But it all points to developing strategic approach, strategizing, and really helping people go from where they are to their next phase in life. So that's me in a quick summary.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's you in a nutshell, except you forgot to tell, you're from New York, right? Whereabouts in New York? Yeah, New York boy.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I'm from New York. So when people ask where in New York, more an hour and a half outside of New York. I hate saying upstate New York because someone listening to this be like, oh, you're not upstate. You're absolutely right. We're not upstate New York. It's
Just a little
around the
further up
Hudson
the
Valley
state.
area, Dutchess County, and born and raised up there. And that's where Marlon and I had met 20-something years ago when all this started. So, yep. Thanks for bringing
thank you
that
so
up.
much. Marlon, how about yourself?
I'm originally from the sunny island of Jamaica. I left the island when I was real young. I've lived in Canada. I've lived also in New York. I went back to Jamaica to finish up my high school, then ended up coming back to New York. And that's where Ricky and I met. And we've been tied together ever since. We've done music together. We've written songs. We've done a plethora of things that we've always came together and did as a collective, as a team.
Yeah. So go ahead, please.
So father of four, husband of one. Right. I also work for a very small, even smaller than Ricky's company called the United States Marine Corps. And right now I joined in 2002. November was my 18-year mark.
Wow.
And
thank you very much for your service.
Oh, thank you for your support.
Yes.
And I've done everything from deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan. I've been to Oman. I've been to all these different Bahrain. I've been to different places. And then now I'm in the DMV area working in the Pentagon as a data analyst. So that's my story in a nutshell. Yeah. And Rick and I started the podcast, the Success Journey Show, because we just wanted to show people what success looked like in all different genres of life. And not just that, because success is not a monolith. So we want to just show that it could be a wide variety of things. And we just wanted to show the real behind the scenes. And that's the reason for the birth of the podcast.
I love it. You guys, I really, and even though both of you, maybe for the sake of time, moved quickly through your backgrounds and how the two of you came together, it seems like both of your histories and your lives are primed and full of amazing opportunities, either to grow or have seen others grow or develop others. And so you guys are perfect for this podcast that you're doing. And I'm so excited that we get a chance to talk about this, because I want to learn from the two of you in developing others. I mean, I have my own thoughts and my own ways of doing things, but isn't this what it's all about, is getting together and learning from each other,
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember in conversations that we've had that there was a bit of a mentoring relationship that was discussed between from Marlon to Ricky. But as we dug a little deeper, I noticed in conversation that it's Ricky's father who actually mirrored some of that amazing growth and development and investing in others. He mirrored that behavior as well. So it's full circle. And I feel like in you guys' past, tell me what you think. These were the seeds that were planted. That are bringing fruit. Would that be that are bringing fruit right now? How does that, looking back? I mean, what do you guys think about that?
We often I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's not too often that we pause and look back. It's always been you just going from one thing to the next, and it's not until someone like yourself asks us those questions and it kind of draws it out of us, like, oh wow, this wasn't by mistake why we're here.
There's a plan, isn't there?
The whole nurturing aspect of it, even from younger, when me and Marlon first met, our common denominator was music. Mm-hmm. And both of us had completely different music backgrounds. Our experience with music was different, but we came to a central point, and Marlon can tell you how he came to where I was. I was currently at our church, Beacon Light Tabernacle, and I just had a desire to just learn music, play music, and all those different things. And Marlon had a desire to grow music, and it is at the point where, you know, when we met and we connected with each other, it was like, wow, you know, this could be an awesome opportunity. And it wasn't just me and Marlon, you know, it was we had a few people that were rolling with us, you know, in the music thing, you know, and over the years it kind of trickled down to me, myself, and Marlon. And I couldn't even tell you how that happened that way. It was just more so, it just morphed into just being, okay, me and Marlon here together. All right, we're going to go sing over here. We're going to go do this over here. And it was just a phenomenal journey from my perspective, just meeting around that common core of music and just having fun. Really, that's what we were doing, having fun.
Right. Yeah, same thing for me. With the music, it was funny because I was very serious about music, meaning I slept, eat, breathe music. I couldn't play. I wish I did learn how to play, but I had to what people tell me, I don't want to pat myself on the shoulder, I have a very good ear. So because of that, I was really into vocals and putting harmonies together, writing songs. And then I found a young man that he could play where I couldn't play, and he was also talented with the gift of singing, and also had to have a good ear. And not only that, and as Ricky expressed, there was a lot of people that made up our music experience, but there's only 2 of us that came out. Yeah. And the reason is because a lot of people weren't serious about it. And that you could see that how that transcends into, even we talk about success or even growth, is that a lot of times it's just like how the Bible says, you know, you throw your seeds on different grounds, and one will grow and one won't, you know. And we were trying to foster this music thing into everyone, but of course, Rick and I would take it on the road, and we went a lot of different places, singing and performing together.
Yeah. Amen. Listen, I'm picking up, I love listening to you guys talk, because the way you are, and I don't know if you guys realize this is not how everybody is. It seems normal for you guys, this, the way you're processing things and the way you're seeing things, and how building relationships, supporting each other, encouraging each other, talking about Ricky's words, desire to learn. I had a desire to learn. And then Marlon, of course, you're talking about the seriousness, taking what you want to learn serious, taking what you want to do serious. Lately, I'm thinking to myself, Season, nobody's going to take you serious if you don't take yourself serious. And I don't mean thinking that I'm higher than, none of that, but just Season, if you want it, you're going to have to be diligent and get up and take care of it. Do you know, just that, take yourself seriously. And I love this. My point is that the 2 of you, I love talking to you because when you were mentoring Ricky, you were like, well, it wasn't necessarily intentional. In previous conversations, Ricky, you were like, I don't know that it was like on purpose. We just were. And my thought was, no, that is definitely a personality type and intention, because think about this. You guys interview people. You see people all over social and in work and in business. Is everybody that generous with their time?
No.
Their encouragement?
No, it's not. They're not. And you know what you said is very funny, because a lot of times I also deal in real estate, and I have my own company, Madden Enterprise LLC. That I started since 2006. And you know, somebody could I could be somewhere and somebody just ask me something about real estate, and I'll give them all the information I have to set them up for success. And then when I turn around and I see somebody else, they're selling the same information that I just gave for free, and I felt good about giving someone. They're saying, oh, pay me $2,000 to give you this information. And I'm like, why? So you're very right. Not a lot of people are willing to give up their time or their information for free.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. So here's the thing, guys. There's got to be a flip side and a balance to this. And Ricky, maybe you can speak to this. This is part of growth, is knowing your value. It's a very scary time to start to determine your hourly or your project price. Just there's 1,000 layers for that, but I think most people will understand what I'm talking about. So Ricky, how can somebody balance helping to be generous of heart, generous with what they've obviously been given? Because the 3 of us, I think we agree that what we have is from God. Right. And so, I mean, are we the originators really? But at the same time, the worker is worth their wages. And so how How do we navigate those types of things? Do you know?
Yeah, that is a phenomenal question. And it's, oh man, you were led to ask it to me. This has been my focus this year, value. I recently got a coach this year. One thing I said I'm going to invest in myself is getting a personal coach.
Hey, wait, say that again. I'm going to
invest in myself this year and get a personal and business coach that can, just really, I can throw things off at and let them just really just help guide me, right?
Amen.
And one thing that came out of our sessions, the first session was, Rick, you do not value what you can offer. And I had to ask myself, where did that come from? Why do I undervalue what I can give to the world? And I had to look back at all the times where, like Marlon would say, a lot of information, a lot of things I would do just out of the kindness of my heart. And therefore, as I continually keep doing that, the kindness of my heart, just doing it, I start devaluing how much is worth because it's nothing for me to do, right? It's easy for me to do something like this versus whatever. So I stopped putting a price tag on it because, it was just natural for me to do this type of things. And I had to realize when she kept asking me over and over, why don't you value yourself? Why don't you believe that you're worth more than what you're asking for? Why are you extending so much time in these different areas? And it came down to this, where you look at the analogy of hunters and gatherers. When this whole world was in the hunter and gatherers type of ecosystem, there's no way you're going out there to hunt with a pack or for your family, and you come back and your wife is satisfied with you saying, hey, I just went out there and I shared all my time just killing things for everybody else. Killing things for everyone else. They got they're full, their plates are full, their tents are full, their caves are full, and you come back to your wife and be like, hey, but maybe next time. There is no next time because winter's coming, And it's like
winter is coming.
So now you're looking at yourself like, wait a minute,
and you spent all that time away from me today to do what?
Exactly. And you come back and you feel good for helping somebody.
I'll bring the wife perspective, guys.
Like, listeners, don't get me wrong. Like, it's good to help people, but at the same time, like when they say a plane is going down, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Take the mask and put it on yourself first. You can't help someone when you're struggling. And if you look at the Bible has his whole ecosystem set up to say, hey, I need you to give to your family first. I need this community to be established first so that you can give to other people. You guys can be the lenders and not the borrowers. You cannot be that if you do not have, right? So I had to really put that inside of me, and I had to reevaluate everything that I was doing. A lot of things I was volunteering my time for, a lot of things I was doing. I said, you know what? I have to pull back because I need to be able to be here for my family more. Not because I don't want to be with the people. I'm trying to be selfish, but the more that I can be for my family, the more I can earn for my family, the more I can give of resources to the areas where I feel that there are lack. So that's kind of where my brain's been going this year, season. So that's
I love it. And I think that at the root level of all of this, with Marlon saying, we're talking about the generosity just to be able to give. And his words were, and I felt good giving it. I felt like this was okay for me to do. And then Ricky saying, I've got to find, figure out the value, and having these root questions as to what is it? These are the great questions that everybody should be asking. Yeah. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I not establishing my value? Here's I think the overarching theme is boundaries.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because when we've established those healthy boundaries, and Marlon, maybe you can speak to this as to why you're able to give the way you give, and why, Ricky, you also give the way you give, but you're learning to not give too much away at this point. Why boundaries play such a positive role in this is because then I can establish a boundary, and then they know my value. But then if I decide to give, correct, I can, then it actually is a gift. It's correct, not someone demanding something from me, that it's not an unhealthy boundary. Does that make sense? I think I'm probably chopping that up pretty badly.
No. You're correct. A lot of times people don't understand the boundaries, and because like Ricky said, every time he goes out to hunt, now everybody says, I'm not going to hunt as hard because Ricky's going to hunt. It's his, and you said something in the beginning that Ricky and I get a lot when we sit together and speak to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Is you said, not everybody breaks down things like you guys, or don't that we take it for granted that the way we approach something, the way how we answer questions, or how everybody answers them.
Right.
And so when Ricky goes out, Ricky's naturally just a great hunter. But everybody else around him has recognized that he has that ability. So because of him saying, well, I don't have no boundaries, I'm just gonna, hey guys, your cage is full. Here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. They don't have the boundaries to say, well, what about Ricky's family? And that is where the boundaries need to be, because even in the leadership, where you're talking about growing people, you have to understand, if you don't give somebody the ability to see the growth and the process of the growth, then it won't matter to them. Mm-hmm. It won't matter to them, because now automatically you do everything for them. I'm going to catch this rabbit and I'm going to put it in your basket. But once the person learns to be a good hunter like you are, or you grow, or you give them the ability to, or you help them to gain the ability to hunt like you are, they're more grateful for it, and they're able to do it and understand the boundaries and understand what you have to put into it in order to be that great hunter.
Yes. Yeah. And what do you think about in the process of learning that? And I think that this ties directly into your podcast, because I believe that's what you're doing. I think that that's part of your heart for others, is to, like you said, and let me just put this here. It's welcome to the Success Journey Show. This is straight from your website. You say a couple of different things, and it says, learn how dreams, drive, discipline, and diligence work together to transform your goals into reality. And it's just like, because not only are you teaching somebody, hey, listen, you need to do this for yourself instead of necessarily just consuming off of others, which is I think just a really base, simple way of saying something that's way more complex. Correct. But also in that process, they're learning how to ask for help. They're learning how to receive help. They're learning how to do something on their own, or maybe to step out, even though they don't have it all figured out. You guys are peeling back that curtain, taking a look in the background, and helping others to see what, to use a spiritual phrase, has manifest in the physical realm. Correct. Kind of what happened back here. So we can speak spiritually, or we can speak physically, but in my personal opinion, those things are not separate. Mm-hmm. I really feel like the questions you're asking yourself, Ricky, why am I not valuing myself enough? Those are things that are contemplative spiritually, that maybe you can deal with the Lord. And then the fruit of that is establishing appropriate boundaries around your time and your finances on behalf of you and your family, right? But you see where it started back here. Correct. And I'm actually, by talking about the background, I'm quoting something that you had said in a previous conversation, Marlon. In your job at the Pentagon, you get to see the background of things, of how they're established. How does that help you set up for the podcast?
Well, because you can see the background, a lot of times, let's just talk about logistics, right? A lot of times somebody go to a party, they come to the party and they just see the nice set table. They see the plates, they see the waiters bringing in the entrees, they see the music, the music up there. They see everything and they're like, this is very nice. And then they leave, and the people that actually put that together are never really recognized, or the person just says, oh, that's pretty nice. All they did was they got the tables, they got the venue, and they put this stuff together. When you see in the backdrop and you understand behind the veil, you understand really what's going on and what it takes to actually run an organization. Then you start to understand the time and effort it needs to be placed in that particular section of behind the curtain.
And all of the people that you don't see that make it happen.
And I think that, to allude to what you're talking about, is when you said that people, we help them to the dream, drive, discipline, and diligence, and to come to an existence. A lot of times what's happening is people are dreaming, but they're not taking the time to look behind the curtains to see what happens to bring that into fruition.
Oh, yes.
So their dream just lives in, and it's easier, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, it's easier for me to put on my social media entrepreneur than to actually be a entrepreneur. Because all I have to do is type it and say, Marlon Madden, entrepreneur. And I can tell them, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, look at my page. so they don't bring that into fruition by the actions. A lot of times they dream, but they don't understand that after you dream, there's something else that entails to it.
Understood. Absolutely. I feel like this really lends to something that we've probably heard a bunch in church. And Ricky, I want to get your thought on this. If you see the glory, but you don't know my story, right? So you want my 10 years at your 6 months, right? Season's sitting in the chair doing this on TV. And Marlon, oh my goodness, how'd he get appointed over at the Pentagon? Like, you know, Ricky, how is he developing people for businesses? And in fact, like, how did these guys get this job? How did they, you know, and not like, I'm just using us as an example because there are those that are way higher up than I am, right? But just, it's so interesting to me because, and God bless people for wanting more and for seeing people that are their carrot out in front of them. You know, I have that. I have people I look to, but so often they say, well, I want to do that. I'm more talented than she is. I'm more talented. I can do this or I can do that. And it's like, well, okay, do you want my drug recovery? Yeah. And I'm not trying to be snarky. Man. I pray to God that you would never have to do that. Do you want your childhood abuse? Do you want that? You know, so it's like, yes, there is a certain weight to the things that those around us may carry, but we don't understand what it took for them to get there at times. And so on that note, as you are in your private work life, Ricky, you're investing in other people, helping them to develop, helping them to grasp everything. It's my understanding, everything pertaining to developing these new businesses. Am I right?
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yep.
What do you see is a motivator when somebody sees they want this and they're getting discouraged? How do you talk to that person? And I know it's going to be different for each, but I think there's some really good general advice that we can give others.
Yeah. I mean, I always go back to the fact of, you know, everyone has their unique story and their unique path. There are steps in which you take, right? There and different directions that you're going in that you can't get around. But a lot of times you cannot predict timing. You cannot predict opportunity. And you can get frustrated because you may have the know-how right now, but that know-how has no placement in the time in which you're in, right? So then you're like, wait a minute, you know, what do I do? Because I may be smarter than that person, or I'm more innovative than this person over here, and they're able to launch off and they have their thing going, but, you know, I'm still here. You know, I should be there. And it's like, no, you should be where you are until your timing is released for you to be at that point. But as long as you stay in the process of following the steps, then you cannot go wrong. And when it's your time to flourish, if that happens, like I always tell people, it's like, it's good to dream. Like you don't ever not dream. I always tell people, have that dream, right? But that dream is going to evolve, you know? So it's like, you know, I love everything that comes with that dream, and that's your drive, that's your discipline, that's your diligence. You know, I love everything that comes with it, but you got to know that and be okay with that. As you growing with that over time, that dream may take on to a totally different shape. And what happens is you're so stuck in that moment of that dream. And if that dream doesn't come to fruition, you miss all those other opportunities that are coming to you. And that's where more frustration starts taking place. Yes. So, man, in simple, I really just say, guys, you know, your story is going to be your story. It's not going to mimic anybody else's story out there. Right. Your way, the way you're going to go through this process. Man, Season, man, if I tell people how I got to where I am, like there is no person that I can say, hey, just start here and then end up here. And if they want to come down the route that I took, there's no way. that you can do it at all. I'm sorry, this is when it happened. Same thing with everyone else. It's built for them, and you have to be okay with saying, hey, I'm going to be my own voyager. Yeah, I have people that I look up to. I have people that inspire me. But the thing I would encourage you to take the most from them is their perseverance.
Yes.
Because that's what you're going to need above everything as you're dreaming and that you're trying to make your reality as you go along that life's path.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know the growth season community appreciates that. Marlon, here's the thing. People are, it's hard not to want what somebody else has sometimes. It's hard. And you guys talk to success stories on the regular. I mean, like, this is what you guys do, right? So your community, my community, myself even, when we want success, sometimes we're tempted to try to take it, whether it's from someone else or to try to force it in general. I'm not saying being dogged and going after something, but what do you see happens in the midst of comparison?
So the funny thing, and to just to highlight what Ricky's talking, we call that, or what you talk about, the dream, drive, discipline, diligence, we call that the quad Ds. That's what the Rick and I coined, the quad Ds, and we think that if you apply that to anything, that you can be successful.
Quad
right? Generically.
Ds.
Quad Ds.
Hashtag.
Yeah. All right. So comparison. I'm going to tell you the first thing you said, success. A lot of times people don't, because of the comparison, what they should think is a success, they don't deem it as a success.
Oh, yeah,
because
that's hard.
now I was supposed to only get halfway across the river and come back. That's my success, but I'm looking at somebody else that went all the way across.
All right, family, we are switching camera angles. Just hang in there with us, okay? So Marlon, you were saying something really amazing, and we took a brief pause, but I want you to circle back to that, please, because I do not want our community to miss what you were saying.
Yes, I was talking about a lot of times people, because of looking at somebody else's success, they kind of end up trying to mimicking their success and not counting their success as a win.
Yes.
So I was talking about how sometimes somebody else their success is to go all the way across the river. Your success is supposed to go halfway across the river and back. And for whatever reason, I don't want to deem what that reason is, that's what you're supposed to do. And because you're trying to go all the way across, now whatever success you were supposed to gain from just going halfway and back, you've lost it because you're just trying to get to the other person's success. So we have found out that from talking to people, we've noticed that the people that are very successful, they understand what their goal is, and they do have a mentor or somebody that they look to, but they understand that what they have to do in their space.
Wow. Because each one of our journeys, like you guys have said multiple times, is going to be different. So tell me if this makes sense or if I'm catching what you're saying. For example, we all want to go to one place, maybe, like maybe Correct. Jesus is our goal, right? Maybe, yes. Maybe, Zion, to use the biblical phrasing, is our goal. But that doesn't mean that you and I are both coming from the east side of the hill.
Correct.
Right. And the east side of the hill's got rocks, but the west side has a valley. Right. And so what my success might be is getting down into the valley first. And that's a success because I've made progress, but I might one day have to come up out the other side, but my success is still my success because I'm still on the journey heading towards where I want to go. So of course mine's going to look different than yours.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So we haven't talked about kind of the elephant in the room, which is quarantine. And like, oh, yay, quarantine, politics, racial tension, riots, heartbreak, people hurting, devastation, gaslighting everywhere. I mean, just there's so much going on in 2020, but there's so many beautiful things going on as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about what success might look like in this part of our journeys?
Man, with me, and I paused a little bit because I was trying to think of how much I want to release out there. But
Woo.
you, I've always lived a life where at a moment's notice, my whole life can be flipped right upside down, be in a hospital, on a ventilator, suffer with chronic asthma all my life. Um, and I've always lived from moment to moment, right? I'm carrying medication around with me, always conscientious
So this
of,
is not a new awareness, that breath away from danger is not, it's not new
it's
for
not,
you.
no, not at all, not at all.
Mm.
But one thing that I focus on always is how do I find, pretty much being optimistic, how can I find the beauty in wherever I am right now, or whatever is presenting to me right now? Because if I don't, um, I'll be consumed by the fear of not knowing what's coming next, right? So we get into this quarantine, and for me, you know, it could have gone so many different ways, and I'm blessed that I still have a job. I'm blessed that my wife still has a job. Financially, it's still the same through COVID. But at the same time, you talk about someone going through the hills versus someone going through the valley, someone climbing up the rough side of the mountain. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, so we've been dealing with that since June of this year. We've also have been going through just other underlining things, and so what we had to look at and say, okay, in this moment of unknown, in this moment which could lead to death, literally, how do you infuse life into your everyday life? How do you focus on things that are going to be positive? How do you focus on taking whatever life is throwing at you and turning it great? So what we've done through the process is we completely flipped it. I told my wife, I'm committed to us finding joy. I'm committed to us finding life in though she's facing something that's life threatening, So things that she's dreamed of doing and that we dreamed of doing, let's pursue it. Things that we want to have, let's pursue it. Let's focus our attention and our mind all around those things, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. We have no idea. So that's kind of how I've been trying to navigate our way through this whole quarantine. And, by God's grace, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I can tell you today, we're moving in a direction that we would have never moved in if it wasn't for the quarantine and us changing our perspective of how we're looking at life.
Okay. All right. So you just said a lot. You just said a lot of really powerful things. I have one question for you. First of all, thank you for being honest. Thank you for being vulnerable. That's what we need. I mean, we need to know that success not only happens on the other side of struggle, but in the midst of struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you. Do you believe that either for your wife and her history and background, or for yourself, and Marlon, you can chime in on this as well if you'd like, do you believe the struggle, the fact that at some point you had to embrace the idea that asthma could strike, and you were dealing with that fear, you've had to wrestle with that stuff, and your capacity increased to be able to manage and handle those things and have a particular outlook? Do you believe that your previous struggle has enabled you and or your wife or both of you to see things with a different set of eyes right in the midst of this hardship?
Oh, absolutely. I always ask God, man, why do I have to struggle with asthma? You're talking about, Marlon talked about some person their success is swimming half the distance. Other one is swimming a full distance. My success in that realm has always been the half the distance. I've always known I have asthma. I know there's certain limitations. I always try to push myself, surround people that are going to push me, but I always known that I lived with a limitation that I had to overcome. And I've always asked myself, God, why did you put this in my life? And not knowing what that answer was, but also seeing more clarity as to when my wife is going through it. to be able to have this perspective. Because if I didn't have this perspective, like I know, like I tell her, and I'm be very careful in how I frame this to her because it's completely different for her, but it's new experience for her. But being able to frame, knowing that when the doctor comes into the room, not knowing if they're going to say, hey, we got to put you on life support or not, or you're not going to make it for you may not make it in the next few hours, or, be fine 1 second and then the next second you're waking up in an ambulance. It's like all of those things I've gone through in my life to be here, this moment, like the strength that I have and the faith that I have, knowing what God has done before, and what God can do in this moment is really helped me to be able to be a strength for my wife in this time, because it's devastating. It's definitely devastating news to receive at 36 years old, 3 boys, have a whole life ahead of her. And just now I can be in a place of gratitude to God and saying, God, thank you for giving me this experience, because if I didn't go through that season in life, I wouldn't be prepared for her season right now.
So not only on behalf of yourself, but the Lord has seen fit to bring you through something hard so that you might be a pillar for your family as the priest of your household right now. That's, I mean, in the hardest of news to get. I mean, that's just, it's incredibly, I have a girlfriend who was just diagnosed as well. And she's like, listen, it might be early stage, it might be this or that, but that doesn't mean it's not cancer.
Correct. Correct.
So the struggle that you've been through in the past has caused you to be able to face things so that you can have an increase in capacity to handle the difficulty now.
Correct.
Did you handle your asthma, or Marlon and you two, did you handle your difficulties with excellent and perfect responses the first times you started to go through them before your capacity was increasing? What I'm trying to drive at is the initial response. For example, I went through IVF. The first time I went through IVF that produced our son with multiple rounds and this and that, I was a basket case. But the second setting where we were trying to have a sibling and there was miscarriage after miscarriage, I was shocked at what the Lord enabled me and had increased my capacity this time around, where I would have gone off the deep end before. I didn't. And it took that crushing for me to be able to see the increase in capacity. And it took away the shame of me not handling it perfectly the first time. Right? Because we have to be able to see our reactions to know what needs to be healed or changed or increased. And I can only imagine right now, Marlon, as you're seeing things through a different lens in your day-to-day job, you're in a high level, different clearances than everybody else, but also for yourself, you're looking around, seeing what quarantine is bringing out of people. Actually, I think all of us can see that, what it's bringing out of people.
Yes.
Now that might be their first stage of IVF for them. Like, they may not have encountered this level of the Lord cracking down the layers to strengthen their roots, right?
It can be. I'm gonna. This subject right here is very for me. I talked about the social media, the soapbox on this. So, but this right here is another soapbox for me, because what's going on is this is what's going on. You're talking about the preparation, right, for the disaster, if we want to, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times what happens is everybody says for every action there's a equal and opposite reaction, correct? However, when those things have gone through over and over in life, they have not believed it, or they did not take on what it means to, okay, if I want to be, case in point, hey, I want to be physically strong, I want to go to the gym.
Right.
I go there the first time, I go there the second time, I feel the pain, I say no, and then I see something on TV that says, take this pill and take this, and you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. And so my personality becomes that I always look for an easy way out instead of going through what I need to go through.
Okay, so now wait. So we want to sidestep.
Correct.
We want to
go through the steps like Ricky talked about. to success.
Yeah. Yea, though I walk through the valley, no thanks.
Yeah, exactly. No thanks. Right? So now the pandemic comes, which is the bigger test. And now you see people that are saying, and for me, I'm going to put it into my perspective. And it's kind of like Ricky, I have to be very cognizant of what I'm saying to people because I don't want to seem kind of rude. When I first went to Iraq in 2004, I didn't have internet. I had to walk a mile to get to a phone that you go down there and there's probably 30 people waiting in this line for this 5 or 6 or 7 phone. And then a rocket attack happens and you never get to use the phone that night because you have to run away and this is going on for 7 months, 8 months, right? And now I'm seeing somebody that's saying, I have the sanctity of my own home. I can FaceTime. I can still go to the store. I could talk to people. And they're saying that they cannot, their stress of the quarantine has made them wig out. They cannot handle it. It is only showing you, it's just like the mirror. They're talking about there's a person that was looking in the mirror and they're looking at everybody else's problem, or they're looking at and not noticing that their mirror is getting dirty. So they've been talking about everybody else and they can give advice to everybody else about their problem. But when the pandemic comes, you have to actually live with yourself and you know who you are, and you have to actually sit down for a while and sit down with yourself or your family and say, am I comfortable where I am in life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So question, what happens when you look around and you realize that you don't like what you see, or you don't like what's coming out of you? What happens? Because here's the reality. There are some that are in a bit more victory, and this is not a point of shame. This
Correct.
is just, I've faced some things in the past that have enabled me to be here. Now, God bless you for being in a place where this is your first time seeing some ugly stuff come up. What happens then?
And this is where it's important.
Like boot camp.
There's a lot of different people in life, but either you are going to weather the storm or you're just going to succumb to the storm. And that's the reality of it. So when somebody comes to me I'm a realist. So if somebody comes to me with a problem and say, well, this is happening to me due to the pandemic. So I say, okay, the pandemic is not going to be here forever. What is this pandemic showing you? When they say, well, I can't create money, I say, well, do you know that there's businessmen that are saying they have never made more money than they've made through the pandemic? So do your outlook on life have to change? Or what you have deemed as important really wasn't important. So the partying that you do every month, and I'm not going after a certain genre of people, because it could be church folks, it could be business folks, it could be anybody and anywhere. But whatever frivolous things that we might be doing.
Correct.
Anything that you have purchased that you just wanted it just because you can afford it at that time, and now you're going through this and you're saying, man, I wish I had that $1,000 that I spent on X, because now. So then you have to look at yourself and say, I have to change some habits that I have. But the problem is people don't want to change that habit, because when they change that habit, that means they have to kind of not go with what society says that is the norm, for me to only go for things that are out there to make me self-gratification or make others look at me at a certain way.
But change is difficult. I mean, let's be real. Change is difficult, but it's not impossible.
But it's not impossible.
It's not.
But you're going to have to be able to live with the fact that you're willing to say, okay, some of the things when I grew up, some of the childish things that I have to put it away. Those things are childish now. Yeah. Do I want to go partying every weekend? I'm gonna hit those, because I see a lot of times those people those are the venues that I can't go to a bar. Mm-hmm. They're saying, oh my goodness, I can't go to a bar. Quarantine has stopped me from going to a bar. Yeah, I can't go partying. I can't do a get together. Those are the things that people are saying that's driving them.
Well, and wanting to be social with other people. I mean, no shame in that, but can we pivot? Has it become so, have we become so dependent on that particular style of celebration, community coming together, that we're not able to pivot?
Correct.
Because honestly, what you're saying is, you know, I want to go out to the bars, or I want to do this or that, external things. But what happens when I just want to be angry because I'm angry, but now I'm stuck in my home with my 3 kids and my wife or my husband? What happens when the stuff that we've been able to get away with, because what happens when we're locked into community together and we start to see ugly things come out? Family, like, there's no need for shame in this. Okay. The only thing that I have to say, 2 things I have to say, and guys, back me up or say, Season, you're crazy. Strength after difficulty doesn't just happen. It's a choice.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So that, and it's not about, and it never has been about, doing it perfect or well, and especially not the first time when we see this stuff that's rotten coming out. What the power, where we have power and control, self-control, is, what am I going to do with it now that I see it? Am I going to hide it in shame? Or am I going to say, wow, that is stinky and ugly. Jesus, will you take this, please? And make something beautiful from it, because that's what you do.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, you know,
please,
and for our all the listeners out there, you know, it's, I don't want to paint the picture at all that Marlon or I don't go through those moments of like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
And how do we get through the
of course you do,
we're currently in, right? We talked about the things we had in the past and how it fortified us for different things right now, but
that doesn't mean it's all roses.
New things, always something else is coming up. And how do you adjust to those periods and those times and those events? And really, you know, having one, knowing who core people are that are around you that can support you through whatever times are coming up. You know, being intentional about saying, I have a person that I can call on. Being intentional about saying, hey, I even have a song that I can listen to that's going to get me my mind in the right frame of mind. Having a book to read, having something, you know, you at this moment is a time where you lean on those different things to get you through, and being real with yourself, knowing what you do not know and what you're not capable of doing. Like,
okay, right there. You just hit it. Admit that there's stuff you don't know. So that's stage 1 of the growth process, is unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. So can we just be real and say, you're right, I could be wrong? I mean, who knows?
Exactly. You know how many conversations Marlon and I have about those random stuff, not as random stuff, things that are going on in our lives.
Yeah.
I want to do this financial decision, or this technology, or that with the family, this or that. You know, it's so many things that we were bounced off of each other. One, because we built and it's not just us, it's a couple other people too we talk to, but it's like we built a common understanding with each other and familiarity with each other, and being safe with each other to say, hey, I know where I'm weak at. I'm okay admitting to you that I'm weak, and I know you're strong in this area. So can you give me some clarity? Because I can't see it right now, you know? And it's like, those are the things that I will focus on the most, you know, when you're going through your valleys, or even when you're going through your high times, because it's going to come. Making sure you have people that you can pretty much just embrace, embrace you while you're going through the process.
Listen, I just wanted to touch on something you said. I think it's so powerful because, just the example that you set, as not just 2 people that are willing to be honest and open and vulnerable, but accountable, but that you're 2 men doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I'm not trying to be sexist, ladies, nobody freak out. Okay. I'm just simply saying that there is a culture where having that type of openness is difficult to attain sometimes between men. And I see it as prevalent. So now listen, it's difficult for women for a whole different group of reasons. And maybe one day we'll do a podcast about that, but I just want to commend you. I know that's different. No, you can be a fly on the wall. But guys, listen, my question next, I want to pivot back to the podcast, but it's on the same vein here. You continued the podcast throughout quarantine, right?
Yeah.
So Success Journey Show still had people driving the success of the Success Journey Show. What kept you going?
I'll tell you, as soon as the pandemic, because we air a show once a week, and then as soon as the pandemic happened, we had to take up the mantle, or we took up the mantle as being journalists, because there was a lot of what's going on in the air. Is the pandemic real? There was a lot of ambiguity about the whole pandemic.
Lots of info. Lots of info.
So we went straight to the source. And if you look back when it first started, March 14th is what I can remember, because that's my last day of going to the Pentagon, was that what we did, we started to target people that we knew. We also got people that were on CNN and all these different, that had the pandemic, that went through it, that overcame it. We also talked to people that almost died from it. So we just went out we talked to a nurse that was 1 year, that was her first year in nursing, and she was thrown into the fire, and being at a place that it's one of the highest cases that they were seeing at the time. We spoke to guys in New York, because New York was getting hit a lot. So we spoke to guys that were in New York actually doing it. We spoke to guys in Texas. So we spoke to a plethora of people just to gather knowledge, so we could kind of ease or give the information to our listeners, so they can start to move and navigate as needed.
Well, and I really appreciate that too, for both of you guys to do that, to dive into the relevant culture occurring around you, maybe helping other people to understand that success might look different right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, but that doesn't mean that we have to be down on ourselves or discouraged when we're all learning something completely different right now.
Oh,
and I think that's what I'd like our community to walk away with. You know, there are realities, like Marlon was pointing out, about real struggle. There are realities about being responsible for our reactions to things, but at the same time, there's also grace in the hallway. You know what I mean? One door gets closed, the other one hasn't opened yet, but there's grace in the hallway, right? And so I really appreciate you guys. I want to read this to you, and I want to get, I want to ask you what your favorite season is. All right. Before we hop off, and I want to talk a little bit about what that means. But I looked this up the other day, because I was thinking about roots of trees and what actually causes the strengthening of a root system. And this is what the Google gods gave me. If the soil is rich and moist, the tree will not require a deep root system. In planting locations that often suffer drought conditions, the tree will produce a deep root system as it searches for the water it requires to survive. A tree with a deep taproot does not withstand transplanting very well. I think that, you know, except for that, just that little bit of a last sentence there, I think that really is incredibly powerful. As we've talked about life and struggle, some of the things that you guys are going through personally, that easy, nutrient rich, beautiful, soft soil, it's nice, and it grows beautiful trees. And man, am I grateful for those times. But if there's ever a way that we can look at something positive to come out of the hardship that we as a world, as a globe, are struggling through right now, we can be assured that there is a plan, and that our root systems are beginning to be stabilized and larger and deeper, so that we will not be beaten and torn out of the ground and pushed around by the circumstances of our lives, right, guys?
That, I don't know, Ricky, from that reading right there, it concretes, it backs up what we're talking about with the different views of success, meaning you don't have to copy somebody else. So there's two trees. There's one that's in the soft, that's in the moist, where the roots don't have to go that far to get the nutrients. And there's one that's in another place that the roots have to go deep to get the moisture, to get the nutrients. So there's two different views of success right there, right? One, however, even though both of them are successful, one can be rooted and moved easily and one can't. So that success, just like I said, you don't know why you don't have to go all the way across the river.
Right.
So the one that's planted and the roots go real far, that tree most likely has to stay there.
Right. And there's a reason. There's a reason that one needs to stay. Yeah.
It has to stay. But the other one, if the other tree that was planted in the place that the moisture was on top had said, I want to put my deep roots deep because that's the measure of success, then that tree would never be able to be moved when it was needed to be moved from that spot. And its whole value was that it was able to be transplanted easily.
And maybe because of the deep root system, it's holding the ground together around it.
There you go.
You know, so but the other one can be moved. Is that what you're saying? It can't. Maybe you need to diversify. Maybe you're a multi. Maybe God's going to move you from California to New York.
That's your purpose. Yep. That's your purpose. Your purpose is you can be a tree like the other tree, but you can be moved around to give shade in many different places.
Oh, I like it. No shame.
That other tree, his success or her success is staying at that one place to provide shade in that place that it is.
And there you have it.
Don't look at everybody else's success as that's what I want.
Yeah.
Be comfortable with going halfway across the river and back, because the measure of success is not going all the way across the river.
Ooh. Okay. There you have it. Have a good day, everyone. It's so powerful. It's so powerful and true. And I really appreciate the what you're saying, because it's a different perspective on what I just read. But I don't know, Ricky, maybe you can agree or disagree. Let me know, and then tell me what your favorite season is after this. But just the thought that whatever type of tree you might be, they're both planted, they're both finding nutrients, they're both producing, but they're different. And you've removed the shame from going, oh, I don't have really deep roots. And it's like, but maybe, you know, and I know that the Bible says, may your roots go down deep. Yes, that's great. Okay. It's a different scenario. Okay. I really appreciate what you said. It pulls the shame off of not looking like what everybody else might look like around you, because maybe you're fixing to get transplanted.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree 100% what you guys are saying. I don't even want to add any more to what Marlon said.
It was so good.
Phenomenal, man, how he phrased that. You know, one side note, I would say that if you look at the redwood tree, one of the tallest tree that we've known in America, their roots don't go deep. And their strength comes with intertwining with the other redwoods, their roots intertwining with the other redwoods around it. So, you know, don't look at a tree and assume just because it's tall that the roots are deep. And that's a measurement of your stature. So, I mean, it's so far with it, man.
Lord.
But
we're going to have to do an entire another podcast on this, you guys.
Exactly. Yeah. It's trees.
Just about trees.
Now, you guys understand my brain explodes when I talk about growth, because there's so many layers.
Yeah.
So speaking of growth, what's your favorite season?
Yeah, my favorite season is summer. I'm all things summer.
All right. You're a full bloom kind of guy.
Yeah, I love being at the beach. I love the heat. I just love it. You know, that's me. The sun is shining bright. Rises early in the morning, sets late, gives you most time during the day. That's just where I am. Yeah.
I love it. How about yourself, Marlon?
Mine is naturally, I would say summer, but I really love winter into spring, because of what it provides when you see something it's like looking across the landscape and you're seeing just all white. There's no leaves, there's no anything. And then after, when it turns into spring, you're seeing where everything, the hardship that you went through, because we could agree, to me, I know some people love winter, but winter to me signifies hardship, right? You're going through it, and then you know that whoever makes it out of that winter, because some trees and some stuff do die in the winter and never come up.
Yeah.
But who makes it through the winter to the spring?
Man, you have to get deep with it, man. You just
definitely.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I love that scene. That's why I love that. I love it, man.
I love it, guys. Listen, and Ricky, I'd say you're a full bloom kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, you like when things are in full bloom, you got the color, you got the light, you get the movement, you're getting to see the fruit of a lot of different things. And Marlon, it seems like as we come to a close here with just a minute or two left, it seems like you grasp the hardship and you understand that in those dark, hard times, spring is coming. You know, it was dark in the tomb, you guys.
Yeah.
But Sunday came, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
correct,
Like, resurrection
correct.
came on the other side of that dark tomb. So you guys, listen, I can't even thank you enough. This has been incredible. I know that this community has been blessed from your perspective. Family, one more time, I just want to say the Success Journey Show podcast. What's the website, guys? Because that's going to lead them to everything.
That's it.
TheSuccessJourneyShow.com. We made it so easy. Everything. You go to Google. I think we are probably the top.
How do I get one of those shirts?
Oh man, that's Ricky and I will get one to you.
Wonderful.
Give us a little time. We have to find your size out first.
Sure. But listen, if I didn't know you already and I wanted a t-shirt, how could I get one?
Oh, right on the website. Right on the website.
Yes.
You go to our products. We have t-shirts there. We actually have some new colors that we're ready to release. You see the black and white ones here. We also have black long sleeve. We have red and gray. You'll see
they'll
those.
Check it out, man.
Out.
Listen, congratulations on 2 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations on keeping the success journey. I think people have needed it during this time. Man,
yes.
Guys, we got to do this again. All right. I'm just so excited.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing us on, man. We've always enjoyed this conversing with you, and just honored to be on your platform and share with your listeners across the world. So prayers go out to you, and your continued blessings, and as you reach everyone across the globe, giving them hope, sharing with them their strength in their season and in their growth process.
Amen. Thanks so much, guys.